Good afternoon, everybody. This is Chris Scully and Bob Spitz coming to you live from Drive. And today we have special guest Dennis Goodhue from Diamond G Automotive. Welcome, Dennis.
Hi, how are you guys today?
Welcome. Good.
Good.
So, Dennis, I want to just launch right into the probably what a lot of people in our audience are going to find shocking. You took your entire team to Hawaii.
Twice, yes.
Okay, so you know, when I heard about this, I went, okay, that's somebody who really gets what it's all about in terms of building and retaining an outstanding team. And so let's talk about that. Let's start with, where'd you get the idea, and what did you set as, you know, how did you manage that whole process of being able to do it and getting your team into it, that whole thing?
Okay, well, first off, I hope I understand what's going on, trying to keep a good team and keep people happy. We spend more time at the shop with these people than we do at home with their families sometimes.
That's true.
They are family.
It's true.
They're good people, and I've got a great crew, and I'm happy to reward them. So anyway, I used to travel along as a party of five. My parents, my wife, and I, and our son, we go to Hawaii quite often. And one trip, I'm driving down the road going, it'd be really awesome to bring the guys here. Instead of them hearing about all the great things we did, bring them there and show them what it was about. So we had gotten up a few years ago, plateaued at a certain sales level, and we didn't grow and we didn't grow, and we went up and down, but we stayed right there. And so one day in a morning meeting, I offered them, said, okay, guys, we need to get this going. So if we can meet these goals, and I put the goals up so everybody could see them, we'll take everybody to Hawaii. And I think they all looked at me with a little bit of disbelief, like, yeah, okay, right, whatever.
Well, that's probably how I would react, to be honest.
Yeah, I was wondering if they all went quiet or what did they do?
Well, kind of. You know, I didn't stay in the back and find out, like, yeah, sure, listen to what he's telling me now. But anyway, we did good. We got better. We got closer, and the closer we got, one of the guys came up and asked. Yeah, one of the guys came up and said, were you serious about going to Hawaii? I said, with a big gulp, yes. They've got to get to those goals. And that year, my sales goal, they blew it, I don't know, 120,000 over the sales goal for the year.
Wow.
So we booked everything. They had never been there. They didn't know anything about Hawaii. None of them had been there except my wife and I. So we went to Hawaii. We were the, what do you want to call it? The soccer moms. We took everybody where we wanted to go because they didn't know where to go. And
Sure.
We had a great time. We came back. So the day after we got back, they said, what's the goal for next year? Which surprised me a little. I bumped it up $250,000. And they started making plans by July where we were going. We want to do this, and we want to do this, we want to do that. And they all wanted to go to Oahu. We went to the Big Island. So they all wanted to go to Oahu to see the history stuff. And they were disappointed that they didn't get to see that on their first trip. So when we got close, I told them, yep, we're going to go, and they could see the numbers too. And I said, okay, I'll take you to Oahu. And we did that. I took them because I'd been there too. We arranged everything. We got them through all the history stuff. And we had the bonus of going to visit John Starkey's shop while we were there, which was awesome, by the way, as well. But then we went back to the Big Island, and they all got together. They planned every day's events. All the events were prepaid and scheduled and ready to go. And we had an awesome time with that. Everybody got to do what they wanted to do.
That's great. Hey, Dennis, say hi to John. He's on watching.
Hi, John. How are you? Surf's up, right?
That's awesome. You know, because we concentrate so much on putting a team together, how to recruit a great team, and not that much attention is put on, okay, now how do you keep this team together? How do you make them that family that wants to stay together? Because, you know, I used to joke that technicians were a little gypsy by heart, and that's why their toolboxes were on wheels. right?
True.
So yeah, so how do you get them to stay? And that acquisition is one thing and retention is something else. And I think what you did was brilliant. It's a great strategy. We had another client do something similar to that. Placed a game, big number, had to be a big number because it was going to be very expensive, and took his entire team to SEMA.
Hmm.
And they worked hard to get to that number, and they made it, and they had a lot of fun. That's
Yeah,
great.
my guys did the same. And we tried to be as good on our stats as we could. The first year, especially, we worked 3 days of the week, and then we worked 3 days of the next week and used the balance days and the weekend. So our stats weren't totally tanked. And this year we took a little more time. They weren't totally tanked, but they weren't where I wanted them. So now we're going to make up for them.
Sure.
That's great. Now, the trip itself, did that help bring your crew together as a team? And did that help with, in terms of their relationships with each other, with you?
Of course. And we always forget that there's another half. If there's an employee here, there's usually another half to that team, and you need to get to know them and treat them better and take them places and do the things that they want to do too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very important point. So let's go back a few steps now in terms of building that team. What are some of your best practices when it comes to finding the right person for your shop?
Luck, but
well, yes, I completely understand that statement. Absolutely.
But it's not always just luck. When you interview somebody, and I've learned the hard way a few times after having covert hostile people and some of those types of things, I try to hire and interview a person that I like, not a resume. And every time I hire a resume, I'm throwing the dice on whether they're going to be a good person and fit in or not.
Sure.
And every time you hire a bad person, and there are numerous definitions of that, and I don't want to go in there because everybody has their good points. But if you hire a person that can't get along with the rest of the crew, not only does it affect them, it affects all the crew, the person that's employed, and it affects me.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, I try to hire. I figure talent, technology is trainable. Attitude is not.
No, you're absolutely right. And to the point that you just made,
hire character and train skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they have to be able to get along with the rest of your team.
Sure.
If they can't, then no matter how good they are, it's not the right fit for your shop. Mm-hmm. They might do great in somebody else's shop with a different team, but you have to pay attention to that. And another shop owner that I worked with had a really important part of his hiring process, which was if he liked the guy, then the guy got to meet the rest of the crew. And they ultimately were the ones who said yes or no, because they were the ones who had to work with them most closely on a day in and day out basis.
I usually do that on a shop tour when a new employee comes in, a prospective employee, they're interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing them. So I want to take them back and show them the shop and show them what we have going and get an idea of what our goals and our attitudes are, the way we do things. And then we usually go by and say, hi, this is so-and-so. And they talk a minute, hi, this is so-and-so. And then afterwards, I always go and ask them, like, well, what'd you think of this guy? And it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you brought up that point of the toxic personality and the effect on a small business, mm-hmm. and just how much damage they can cause. Just owner attitude, because I've known shop owners get stuck between a rock and a hard place. Their best, most productive technician was also completely toxic. Mm-hmm. And he's going, how am I going to get rid of this guy? But I can't live with this guy, right?
Well,
not realizing the effect that guy was having on everybody, on all the production numbers and his own well-being, and how you just have to handle that. And that's why we say never stop recruiting, because you never know.
You
You
have
know,
to
all
confront that
Yeah.
problem.
You got to confront it, because all employees are good until they're not. Right.
True. Well, and if you don't believe it, that I had 6 techs at the time, and when I went to 5 techs, our numbers went up.
Wow. There
I've
you
seen
go.
that. I've seen that over and over again. You know, and I think we've all worked with hammer throwers, whether it was physical or verbal hammers,
Hmm.
and how much trouble they can cause. And I was working with one tech. I finally said to him, I said, look, we're going to find an old barn to stick you in and throw in a piece of red meat every day, because you're not fit for human consumption. You're just horrible to work with.
Well,
You
and
know?
we all preach that communication is the key, whether it's drive or whether it's individuals after they've been trained. Communication is the key everywhere, customers,
Mhm.
employees, all of it. And if it's toxic, there isn't any communication, or if there is, it's no fun.
No,
Right.
no. So that's great. It's great that you understand that and work with that, because that is key to really producing the right culture that attracts the right people. That's the other point. It's almost impossible to recruit into a scene like that.
Yeah. And I don't use that in recruiting. This trip, I try not to tell anybody. It's a small town, so most people know, but somebody coming from outside, I don't talk about going on a trip or a big reward at the end of the year. I would rather hire a good person and then reward them afterwards, as try to lure them in with a promise.
Sure.
Right. And you know, that's actually, that brings up another point, which is something that we talk about in one of our workshops, is what motivates that person. If their motivation is only money or a trip or some sort of essentially selfish motivation, then that's going to be difficult to work with as well. But when you have somebody who's motivated by the team's success and working with people that they like and those types of things, you get a much better overall result when you hire that person.
I think so. Yes. And they might stay longer too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's
Yeah.
on every survey we've ever done over the last 20 years, culture, management, environment always comes up as one of the 1 or 2 reasons a technician will either stay or leave a shop.
Organization's right in there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Got to be organized,
Got to be organized.
which I wish I was. We're right in the middle of construction and it's a disarray, but we're still
Yeah.
pulling decent numbers.
That's good. How many techs do you have?
I've got 5 techs right now,
Mhm.
and I started as a tech and I rarely go back, but occasionally I get pulled back. When we get done with our expansion, I want to get back up to full staff of 6, and I'm looking for 7th.
Wow.
Oh,
And
that's
how many
great.
service advisors?
3 service advisors right now.
Okay.
One about to
right.
become an office manager.
Excellent. Excellent. And
Fantastic.
your automotive and right now light truck, or also medium duty?
Light and medium duty, and we also do aircraft work. Not on the aircraft. We work for major airlines doing all their ground equipment.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's different.
Great.
It's a whole different gig.
Boy.
Dealing
I
with the
bet.
FAA.
Wow.
So are you doing that mobily, or are they bringing the equipment to you?
All the PMs, all the maintenance, all the small repairs are all done mobile. And then anything major, if we have to change a motor or something, we have it hauled out here and do it at the shop.
So you're doing lift trucks and the whole gamut?
De-icers, bag carts, tugs, pushbacks, tow bars, you name it, every part of it.
Wow.
Holy cow. That's awesome.
Well,
And the challenge,
that'll keep a tech from being bored.
true.
Yeah, right.
And the challenge to that was finding information to repair all that stuff
Right.
and
Yeah.
equipment. If you have
And
a computer,
parts.
well, parts aren't too bad because you just go back to the manufacturer.
Okay,
The
good.
airlines are used to that. However, information and data to do the work, they don't have OBD2. They have computers, but it's all their stuff. So we have to
Right.
deal with that too.
Wow.
Wow. Well, that's great. What
That's a whole
airport is near
different
you?
world.
Our hometown airport, station MTJ. We're the busiest airport in the Western Slope, Colorado.
Fantastic. They can bring what size jets in?
Oh, they can land 747s. The runway's
Oh, they
plenty
can.
big enough. Oh, yeah. In fact, we were on the space shuttle ditch list. We have a very large, thick runway. We're still a Unicom airport with no tower, but we go from 2 or 3 airlines in the summer to 5 airlines in the winter. We get probably 30, 35 flights in the winter a day.
Wow.
Wow.
I never flew in there.
Most people
know?
don't. It's not a destination unless this is your destination.
No, I've been to Colorado many times doing seminars, and it was either Colorado Springs or it was Denver.
DIA. Now, if you go to Ski Telluride, we are the airport for Telluride.
All right.
All right.
That's great. So are all your techs cross-trained? How do you handle the training of that? Because I was just thinking, boy, if I only had one tech who was going out there doing the mobile and all that, he's got me over a barrel.
I started as the tech, and then I trained another guy, and that's one of the things I want for the next person to hire on. You also have to be background checked and all that because we have a SIDA badge. We work right out in the airport.
Sure.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but it's a different pace.
Yeah. Do they set the fees? Can you set the fees?
We negotiate contracts. There's an hourly rate, which is usually less than my walk-in rate, but we also negotiate the times to do all of the stuff. So there is pre-negotiated on times, and they treat me generous on the times.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Kind of like all data.
Well, even more. Sometimes we can get things done a lot quicker than the negotiated times.
Fantastic.
And that's good. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
So if anybody else wants to take a trip to Hawaii or another trip, the biggest thing I can tell everybody is plan enough in advance so you have it paid for before it's time to go too.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up because that's an aspect of it that people might not be thinking about ahead of time that is very important.
And estimate high.
Yes, estimate high.
It always costs more than you think it's going to be.
And you have to tell your people what you're actually doing. This is not 100% all expenses paid. I pay the airfare, I pay all the transportation, and I pay for the place to stay. But meals and activities are on you because they're not organized. We did organize it. They organize it for me. But if you want to go surfing all day, every day, be my guest. That's what you can do.
Right.
Great.
That's
Yeah,
great.
actually, that's an important point on any kind of group game is that you lay out all of the rules and the parameters ahead of time so that everybody knows what to expect, win or lose. It's very clear. There's no gray areas. It's this. Whatever.
Yeah, no
that
5
might
o'clock
be.
surprises. Yeah,
Right.
Why create upsets? You're going on vacation not to have upsets.
that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
I don't know where we're going next year. I'm pretty confident with construction, the team's going to do it again, but we'll see.
Mhm.
But we're not set on Hawaii. There's talks of a cruise. There's talks of Disney World. There's all kinds of talks. When we get close, we'll discuss that and see what works.
All
Yeah,
right.
you know,
That's-
on a much smaller scale, and I know this just from being on the other side of that coin, knowing that there's a game coming up, and if we win it, it's going to be a lot of fun. Really does help keep you focused. I mean, we just at a much smaller scale, but when I worked for the Harley Davidson dealer in New England, the big game was, you know, a day-long fishing trip in the North Atlantic. And that fired everybody up. We love that.
Good. Well, the
Kept
game
you
goes all
focused.
year long.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Now, one question, you've got your annual game that you're doing with the trip. Do you also have individual bonuses for your techs and your service advisors as well?
Absolutely. I bonus my techs individually. I bonus them as a group bonus. And if we meet our weekly sales target, we buy lunch on Thursday, bring that in. A lot of little things other than that too. Service advisors the same way. I have 3 categories that I try to bonus individually, and this is a recurring bonus, whether they meet the stats or not, is who did the most work orders, who did the most highest gross profit, and who did the most money. Those 3 categories, I bonus all 3 of those every week. That way they're looking and they're fighting to get one of those. Plus I bonus over owners break even for them too.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Now, let me ask you a question, Dennis. This is a hot topic, and it's always been, because the only consistency in our industry is change, and that is the need for ongoing training. And sometimes there's resistance, especially with older technicians, to continue their training. Does the training and continual training of the latest technology play into any of these games?
It doesn't into the games, but it plays into being here and working. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another drive shop is putting on EV training. So we're going to at least send a couple of guys to that. School bus training, we got to deal with that. So the right personnel has to go there. It's difficult to send all the people all of the time because somebody has to stay here and work.
Right.
Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But we try to pick the people that are going to be doing the work, send them to the correct training. And then I'm having a shop manager about the same time come on, and he's my lead tech, and he's a great people. He needs to take most of this training to at least be exposed to it, because he's going to have to train the rest of the people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then digitally, I've got virtually every video and every DVD and every book that you could get, and they're in a library. And I haven't forced people to use them, but I'm going to start assigning some more training that way, because it just doesn't get done all the time. I have one technician who's done every one of them. He's done them 2 or 3 times. He's self-taught all the way. He's passed his ASC certs, all that kind of stuff. He's done it all off the training, and then real
Self-motivated.
experience. Yeah.
That's a unicorn right there.
Yeah, good for him.
That's amazing. That's great.
He's 20 feet away, so at least he didn't hear me on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, I'll be asking for a raise.
Well, it's that time again now too. We're all looking at raises again now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's been a fun trip. We have a good time doing it, and hopefully we will get to do more of it. And if we alter what we do, that's fine. The change is fine, as long as there's some kind of reward, some kind of game for him.
Yeah. Well, I think you can never go wrong with Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii is just beautiful. It truly is a paradise, and there's so many things to do, and it's so much fun.
The only disadvantage is you usually come back financially embarrassed.
Oh yeah. It's not a cheap island.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And even before this, I'd rent a go-kart track for half a day and do a corporate event and that kind of stuff. So we did kind of build up to this. It wasn't just jumping off the cliff all at once.
Now, do you post these kind of social activities on your Facebook page?
Guilty as charged. I have not. But there has been some
another
publicity.
recruiting tool. Young guys see all this fun guys are having and thinking about they're grinding away in the dealership. No fun.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty attractive.
And I just came back from the in-person classes, and that is ingrained in my brain right now. I need to start doing more of that. Larry did a good job with me.
Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Excellent.
That's excellent.
And I guess we made a magazine or 2 with it as well. That's what they told me. We were in Shop Owner magazine with it. Had a local newspaper do the same, a little different, but the same story too.
Yeah,
That's great.
Pat yourself on the back and promote that. Put that on your Facebook page, as seen in Babcock's Shop Owner magazine.
Mm-hmm. We'll do our best to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as you go through the year, going back to some of the mechanics of administering a game like that, because there's a lot to it. You got a whole year of work that gets done. You have graphs or a thermometer posted that do you update everybody on where you stand every week or every month? How did you go about that?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask that question. I'm glad you asked it, Chris.
Individual stats, individual goals, group stats, group goals are all posted. I've got the big red thermometer out here that shows where we are every week, every month. I have a weekly goal posted. I have monthly goal posted. I have a yearly goal posted, which that's the main one everybody is interested in.
Yeah.
and everybody knows what the goals are. Everybody knows what their bonus programs are too. It's not, okay, you did so many hours and I magically come up with it. It's all printed. They know what they get if they do the work.
Right.
That's great. Very transparent, very easy to track, visible at a glance. That's awesome.
Got to be. If you're not transparent with your people, that's not going to last.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
Now, speaking of putting teams together, is your shop equipped to deal with apprentices?
We have one going through the Napa apprenticeship program right now.
Great.
I don't know if I could have more than one, maybe two in the summer or after we get done remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And the older techs are willing to help them and work with them?
Well, the cool part is this tech happens to be the lead tech's son. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that makes it easier.
Well, that could be good and it could be bad.
It works out well. It works out
Okay,
well.
good.
But no, we have a really good group. They all help each other. That's one thing I really like about the culture is if somebody's having a problem, someone else will step in. It's not, I don't have time to do that. I got my work to do. It's, oh, well, gee, if I can help, let's do this. And we all work together. Even the front works together with the back. If there's a problem, okay, let's all get together and find a solution for the problem.
So I guess
Outstanding.
you hold regular meetings, team meetings?
Once a week,
Great.
Great.
breakfast provided. And now
Oh,
I have
good.
new topics. Larry has me on a whole bunch of new topics that he gave me that I'm going to start working on. And it will work into the playbook apps and that kind of stuff. I'm not currently involved in the playbook apps other than I'm just dabbling with it to see how it works. But I expect to transfer all my stuff over into the playbooks, use those, improve the communication that way, make it easier communication.
Yeah.
Great.
By the way, how was it coming to a live workshop again?
Awesome. The first top 20 meeting I went to, that was one of the biggest complaints I had because it was during COVID, is that we wanted to go back. And then I was back in California in September and politely got a tour through there. I had some friends that I wanted them to see it. And it was so disheartening to see that fantastic facility doing nothing. And it was awesome to see people in there talking, communicating, networking, and learning. It was great. Can't wait to sign up for some more.
Fantastic. That's great.
Awesome. Well, we do have another set of in-person workshops coming up in June. So for everybody watching, if you're interested in coming back and sitting in a classroom with your fellow shop owners, definitely sign up for them. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. I feel like we could talk for another hour at least. But Dennis, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us your successful action as far as how you reward your team on an annual basis. I think it's a great practice, and I think that a lot of shop owners could adapt something for their own situation. So I really appreciate you coming on.
And I love the big thinking. That's really big think.
Thank you. It costs money, but what doesn't?
All right. And next week we'll have, let's see, Jessica Sen from Dave's Auto Body, and her coach, Cassie, will join us for next week's show. And everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. And again, Dennis, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Take care.